Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the world famous podcast, Beating the Press. Myself, Ty. Obviously got Chris with us as well. You might notice someone else at the bottom of the screen, and that's Lewis. We've got him on today for a bit of impartiality. Hopefully, those of you that have been whinging and moaning that it's just Liverpool fans in here, you can shut the fuck up and be a bit happier now. As always, if football's your kind of thing, please like and subscribe. Click that funky button at the bottom. And if you're feeling really, really generous, let your friends and family know as well. So, with that being said, I'm going to pass over to my co-host, Chris, who's going to kick it off for us. Over to you, Chris.
Yeah, so obviously, like Ty says, we've had a bit of feedback, and it seems like we talk about Manchester United a lot for some Liverpool fans. A lot of people might say we're a little bit salty, a little bit obsessed with United and all that. But it is the two biggest clubs in the world, so that's why we cover them so much. So it's nice to have someone on. Welcome, Lewis. Again, a Man United fan, but it's the first time I'm actually meeting Lewis, so I wanted to kind of get to know where his head's at with 4 quick-fire questions. And I just want a simple answer, one word answer, just first thing that comes to your head, right?
Sure.
So first thing I'm going to go with is the topic that we're actually going to be covering, the main topic. First of all, Ole in, Ole out.
Ole out.
Okay. All right. Next one, Donny in, Donny out.
One word answer?
Yeah.
Donny out.
Pogba in, Pogba out.
Pogba in.
And I think I might know the last answer. Glazers in, Glazers out.
Glazers out.
So it just gives us a little bit of a mentality where you're actually at the moment. So I feel like we've been talking about Ole Gunnar Solksjaer for quite a while now, Ty, like going back and forward in our podcasts. And for ages, we've thought it's great. It's absolutely amazing. As a Liverpool fan, having Ole Gunnar Solksjaer as our manager. And we like to call him what do we call him, Ty? What's he like he's like a fruity manager, you know, like where the bandit machines.
The bandit machine. So what we say is, I don't think we've got a word for it. It's that guy who keeps dropping his 20p's and 20. He's literally down to his last 20p and hit the jackpot. It'll get him out of shit. So he'll be like a last minute winner from one of his superstars. Nothing to do with tactics or anything. So that's what we call him. We've throughout the last season and however long he's been in charge, you can tell when a manager's going to make a difference within the first 6 months. I think that's a good time. You find out if they've got any patterns of play, the styles of play, what they do, how the team want to play. With him, you've not seen it. We're 4 years in, we don't see it. And we've always said, every time they get a decent result, we're happy because we know it'll keep the fans off the back, and you'll get the memes coming out, Ole's at the wheel and all that sort of shit, and it'll keep Rio Ferdinand pumping him. And, so as Liverpool fans, we're really happy. And we're kind of hoping that he won a League Cup or one of the shit cups, just to give him a bit more time. But the fact he loses him, I'm thinking, I don't know. And then the start of the season hasn't been great. So, but we always get criticism because we're like, oh, you're Liverpool fans, so you want him out. And obviously, you get involved with some of our Twitter stuff as well. And we just thought for a bit of balance, we'll have you on board.
And I was just thinking, like, I just want them to win the next game. I need them to win the next game. I don't know who it's against. It might even be Liverpool, but I need them to win. But just going on to Lewis, when he first joined, I just want to ask you, when he first joined, obviously he took over from Mourinho. What were your thoughts when he first joined?
Okay, so initially, I thought it come a bit from left field. But I understand, obviously, the situation we was in. Mourinho was obviously, his time had been up for a long time. They got rid of him, and it was just a case of mid-season, we needed somebody to get us through to the end of the season. Now, he's come in, and from the start, he's come in, and he's from the start, he's saying the wrong things, which was like, it was an initial red flag, as in he wasn't willing to park in the manager's car parking spot, saying, it wouldn't feel right, do you know what I mean, to park in Fergie's spot. I'm just thinking, this is interesting. Now, when he initially come in, if you remember, he went on that crazy run where, I can't remember, was it like he won 11 games out of 12 or something crazy? He had the PSG result, and all that was well and good, but deep down, I think a lot of Man United fans, obviously, they enjoyed it at the time, but they must have been internally asked the question, is this a new manager's bounce? As it just obviously, it was so that like the morale from the fans and the team the players and the team must have been down here with Mourinho. And any new manager who's going to give you freedom to play will get you up there. Now, slowly, you're wondering, think, right, after 20, 30 games, will it taper off? And it did happen to taper off. Now, when you look at him coming in, the style of play didn't change too much. Now, I remember one of the early games, I think it was against Cardiff. Was it Cardiff? And I think Neil Warnock was managing them. And he turned around after that and said, Man United are back. And we beat them 4-1. And I remember watching the highlights, and it was a pretty open game, which has been the case with Man United for the past 4 years. It was an open game. And we just managed to blow them away like in 4 moments of individual brilliance. And then I think everybody bought into the hype. Oh, maybe Man United are back. They've got the old DNA. They've got the Man United DNA. That's another buzzword Solskjaer likes. And from then I was concerned. And obviously the rest of the season panned out. The wheels fell off. And sort of over the past 2 years after that, there's been highs and lows and highs and lows. And like you said, once it's got too low, it's never got to breaking point because he always wins that last game. Yeah. And then the morale goes back up and you wonder, maybe it's just a bad patch. Now we're at a stage now where there's no excuses. He's got the team. He's arguably got a better squad than likes of Liverpool. You know, when you look past the first 11, because you look at the bench the other day, there were Ronaldo on there, Pogba, Sancho, I think was on there, Lingard, Eric Bailly, Dean Henderson. Now there might have been a murmur about, he needs this player. He needs a striker. He's got a striker now, and we haven't seen no improved play. We haven't seen no sort of style of progressive football. It just seems to be a game where he's hoping that his match going to step up and create those moments of magic. And at the moment, it's not quite happening. And now I think. Sorry, Phil.
No, I was just going to say, do you know if we sort of rewind back, this all goes back 10 years ago. I think it's when Fergie left, around 10 years ago. The issue starts from them. You know, you've not replaced Fergie as a manager. He's gone. You've tried with different ones. And I still think if you go back now, and the question I'm going to ask you is, David Moyes, should he have been given more? And listen to that. I know it's great. You know, we can look back with hindsight, and the world that life's easier. You can easier make decisions. And you know, we've had Solskjaer for 5 years, and we know why Solskjaer's had the 5 years, because he's an ex-Man United player. David Moyes, then you look. You've had Moyes, you've had Van Gaal, you've had Mourinho, and you've had Solskjaer. Man United's issue is, you talk about world-class managers. Van Gaal and Mourinho were not world-class at the time. Their time had gone. Do you know what I mean? You look at the managers they've had. Moyes was never world-class. He was, he's probably at the sort of level he's at now. Do you think Moyes should have had more time, considering what he'd done at Everton? And did people, or the better question would probably be, if Van Gaal took over straight after Fergie and then Moyes took over, would he, do you think, have got longer? It would have been easier for him to get longer than what he had. I know they're hypothetical questions, but you get what I'm getting at, don't you?
Yeah, something like that. Considering what David Moyes is doing at West Ham right now as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's a good question. There's 2 ways to look at it. I think Ty's right. If Moyes come in 2 positions after Fergie, so if it was Van Gaal and Moyes would have had longer. Moyes originally maybe should have had longer, but as a personal preference, I don't think Moyes has that. I don't think he has it in him to take us to the next level. Maybe he could have improved on what he was doing, but there were certain games. I remember there was one game against Fulham, and I think we broke the record for the most crosses attempted. And we were playing Van Persie in the middle. I think we had Rooney behind him, and the ball was going wide, and we were just. It was like, have we gone back to 1992 or something here? It was just like so basic and so there was no like modern style to him. Now, in hindsight, the amount of time Van Gaal got on, the amount of time Mourinho got on, now obviously Solskjaer, there's no reason why Moyes shouldn't have had that. But it was because it was such a fall off from Fergie's last season, and it got so toxic at times. It was like, I understand why they did it, why they pulled the plug so early, but maybe should have got longer. I just don't personally think it didn't amount to much. It maybe got a little bit better than where it was at, but I don't think it. I mean, obviously, he's no Klopp and he's no Pep, but I think the gap is too big to be a Man United manager compared to those bigger managers.
I completely get, and I agree with what you say about David Moyes. He's just not the. I think you get managers that can manage elite clubs, and there's very few of them around the world. You know, that's why they keep doing the circles. They keep going around the same club because it's only them. They know. They know how to manage those big egos. They know how to manage the press. They know how to do the whole package. They know how to buy the players, everything. They know how to do everything. Moyes would never have got that. I mean, I still think the question is Moyes is a better manager than Solskjaer, and I don't think there's any doubt about that. And we talk about Solskjaer, the similar manager to Solskjaer, I'd say in recent times is Lampard, who obviously was an ex-Chelsea legend. He's gone back and he got the job. That's the only reason he got the job. But the difference between Chelsea and Man United is Abramovich realizes when managers are shit, and he'll cut it. It doesn't matter if you're an ex-legend. He'll take sentiment out of it and make the decision. Man United are a different club. They won't make those. They'll give someone. But there comes a point where when do you make that decision? Because at the moment you're thinking, how much longer can they go? Because there's no murmurings coming on from the board. There's nothing coming off from Fergie. However, I think I might have heard something from Fergie after the Everton game, thinking
he was talking to Khabib.
That's it. Yeah, I don't know. I thought I heard something. I'm not seeing on Twitter, but yeah. So he that's the first time I've heard anything. Now I don't know. Man United aren't a club that make quick decisions when it comes to managers. So I'm just thinking, how much longer does it need to continue, or are you going to continue in the same cycle of him having a shit result, then having a win when he needs one, going on a bit of a run, but then still finishing 4th or 5th? They're not really challenging Liverpool and Man United. Not really. Whenever it matters to, like in a big game, he'll crumble. And tactically, they always fall short. If it's not for one of the big players getting him out of shit, it's going to be the same old, same old.
I think personally, I think this year has got to be shit or bust, because, like I said, there's no excuses now. You could look at Man United's team, you look at the starting 11, and you'd say, right, they need a CDM. But if you look at past managers who have gone on to win the Premier League, if you look at the likes of Antonio Conte, he changed and he were playing 4 at the back. It wasn't going well. He went to a back 5 or a back 3, however you look at it. And he ended up winning the league, going on a crazy run, playing Victor Moses at wing back. Victor Moses, who now I don't even know where he plays. I'm sure he played at Fenerbahce at one point. Falling off the face of the earth. I'm sure he was in Turkey somewhere. And that, obviously, playing wing back in a wing back system is pivotal. Now, if you're a manager who's worth his salt, with Pogba, Bruno Fernandes, Ciron, Sancho, all these players around Fred, you should be able to have Fred in your team and not let him get exposed all the time. Because he's not a terrible... He's below par, don't get me wrong. But just because you've got one weak cog in this team, you should be, as a manager, if you've got anything about it, you should be able to deal with that. You see the likes of Pep, like James Milner, great player. He's been there, done it all, do you know what I mean? Really steady. He'll never let you down. He comes in for the Man City game, and he might have made a mistake or two, but he didn't look out of place, you know what I mean? Now, he's not a right back, he's just doing a job. Now, if you can't get a tune out of Fred to the point where he's not letting the team down, I'm just sorry, you know what I mean? You're not good enough. Now, the issue is, obviously, like you said, for a Liverpool fan or for the rival fans, it's great when he wins, it keeps him in the job. The issue we've got as Man United fans who want him out is that because he's been there and done it with the likes of Rio or Gary Neville, he's immune to criticism. Now, I think if you watch, Gary Neville's got his own podcast, and he does it even on a Sunday with Martin Tyler. He does a little recap of the week, sorry. So he did it after the Man City game. He was talking about Man City and Liverpool and how the levels are up here and the managers are great. Now, he's never really called Ollie out, and he gets a bit of criticism fairly for that. But he did say something where I sort of thought his tune was changing, because he said, he didn't need to say it, but he said, the worst case scenario for Ollie now, if he leaves Man United, is that he was a really good, what was the term he used? It was something like, he stopped the rot, basically, and he's got us on a good path, which he has, which is what you've got to give Solskjaer credit for. He's got rid of most of the mercenaries there. He's got rid of a hell of a lot of deadwood, the likes of Smalling, Ashley Young, players like that, who were just keeping us so subpar. And he's done that, and he's done well, and he's got the players. But the fact that Gary Neville acknowledged that and he didn't even get prompted for it would maybe suggest that he's no longer going to sort of just let him get away with it.
Starting to turn.
You sort of jumped the gun. That was my next question to you. Do you know, you just mentioned Rio and Neville, and they're obviously the two of me, and sort of character. Then they're the three sort of most prominent pundits in British football at the moment. You know what I mean? People, they seem to drive a lot of stuff that goes on social media. You're right. Rio Ferdinand's obviously got the first, he said Ollie's at the wheel, all those, maybe a couple of years ago, and that sort of stuck. Neville's never really called him out. Now, Rio Ferdinand, if you go back through the last sort of 3-4 years since Solskjaer has been in charge, and every time there's a big game or whenever they're in a cup, semi-final and final, he'll always say, "Oh yeah, we've got so much attacking talent," and it's annoying about Rio Ferdinand because I think if you actually talk and he speaks technically and tactically about team setups and how they can defend better, he is good. But when he starts coming out with outlandish statements, he just comes across as a bit of a dick. So, and I do think that the issue with Ferdinand as well at the moment is because him and Neville both played with Solskjaer, they know him, they see him as mates. Ferdinand keeps saying, "Well, I text Ronaldo's text me." Like, there's, it's brilliant, the players, but you're not impartial, and that's when the issue becomes an issue bigger. Now, if we break it down now, the world's changed, society's changed, social media drives a lot of stuff and conversation. So if Neville and Ferdinand lose their shit and they say he's not fit for purpose, he needs to go, and that goes on social media, that'll have a natural drive, and then the owners will get to know.
It'll turn the tide.
It'll turn. So you've pretty much answered the question what I was going to ask anyway. But do you think if Neville and Ferdinand were a bit more impartial, Solskjaer would have more to deal with? Because at the moment, I've heard Solskjaer a couple of times in interviews say Ferdinand or Neville, one of them said something. He said, "Well, he's not part of the club or something." Do you know, along those lines, to sort of say, keep your mind your own business, you're not a player anymore. And I'm surprised they didn't go back at him. It's like they want to just keep, the hierarchy up. I don't even know if Fergie might be telling Neville and Ferdinand, "Don't you dare ever criticise Solskjaer." Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
You're right. No, exactly what you said there. I saw that comment as well, because Ferdinand got a bit of a bollocking from Solskjaer because he said something regarding Phil Jones. Regarding the shirt number, like he should give it up or something like that, for when Ronaldo come in the summer, because it was like off of Varane, sorry. There was that, and then there was also a comment by Gary Neville, and Solskjaer has gone back now. Rio and Neville have questioned stuff with Ollie, like for instance, why did Ronaldo start against Everton? And sometimes Solskjaer's hit back, but that's not the biggest. That's not the big thing. The big thing is he good enough? And neither of them will ever answer that, because one, the good mates. I don't want to throw the mate under the bus, but the other thing is Rio is an egotistical person. Like he's Man United through and through. But like you said, when he gets to when he's not impartial. But like when he's talking about Man United, his ego kicks in, and because he's done the Ollie at the wheel thing, it's almost like he's just digging his feet in. Like to admit that it was wrong, it'd be too much of a big task for him to do. Now you're right. If they just start questioning Ollie's legitimacy as being Man United manager, the side will turn, because a lot of fans are still loyal. But then I know I've got a few Manchester United fans who have had season tickets for the past 10 years. And they're loyal fans, loyal to sometimes where you can be too loyal, do you know what I mean? And they give Ollie chances. And even then, starting to turn out like, "Look, you've been here 4 years. We still don't know what you're trying to do." I'm glad, we'll give you the credit of we've had good times. We don't have no trophy or silverware, but we've got rid of Deadwood. Because we went through a stage, with Sanchez and Di Maria, where we've had mercenaries, and it was just so bad. It was such a bad look, and we managed to get rid of them all. And I think Ollie deserves a lot of credit for that. But tactics in big games. We're too open, with average teams or poor teams are getting at us, and sometimes Ronaldo score a last minute or a minute winner, or Bruno get us out of jail with something, and it papers over the cracks.
Over the cracks. Yeah,
that's exactly what he does.
That was the thing I was going to go on. Ollie, obviously, like you say, he deserves credit on certain things. They're in a better position than when he came in. A lot of players off the wage bill that brought in better players. Whoever takes over from him next, they're in a really good position. Obviously, what I'm hearing from you and a lot of Man United fans is that it's almost like the new signings, which everyone was crying out for, and pretty much probably all was crying out for, is kind of being the accelerator in almost getting him to this point of being pushed out the door.
Yeah.
He's got no excuses at this point. But the weird thing is that you're on this crazy long unbeaten run away from home. You're a couple of points off the top of the league.
Yeah.
Like a couple of results, and I know the reason why, but it just seems like, you know, it's a weird situation for a manager to be in with all of those plus points at the moment. But I asked you at the beginning whether you were all in, all out. Can you remember the moment where it changed from all in to all out? Moments, or is it just a case of?
It's more of a build up. Yeah, I can't actually remember one moment where I just lost my head and I was like, this is too much. But it was sort of the back end of last season, sort of midway through last season, the back end, because for a short period of time, me and a few friends was also doing a football podcast, and it was more banter. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously ribbing each other when we're doing well. And there was like a lot at the time. There was a few Man United fans who were like, "Ollie out, get him out. It's really bad." And I used to stick up for him in the fact that when we were winning games, they were quiet. They never mentioned him. But when we lost games, it was like it's all his fault. And there was a few times where it don't happen often. But I remember there's been games against Spurs where we've been playing 4-3-3 all the time, and then out of nowhere we play Spurs and we play split strikers, and they couldn't handle us. And stuff like that made me think like that's not come from the players, that's come from the training ground. You know what I mean? You've worked on that, you've exploited Spurs, you've let the fullbacks go on and we've killed them. But then like the more the years have gone on and the more seasons gone on, and it's like too many games are just open, and we don't have a divine right to win every game. But at the end of the day, if you've got a better squad and better players than maybe a Burnley, you shouldn't be under that much pressure. Do you know what I mean? It shouldn't become a case where we're 2-0 down and we're having to come back and snatch a draw and stuff like that. And it's just massively what's turned it. I tell you what, massively what's turned it. Sorry, let me take it back. There was a moment. I was trying to think of a moment with Man United where it turned. You know what the moment was? It was when Thomas Tuchel come on and he took over Chelsea.
Wow.
Because I can remember that week like it was yesterday. So Thomas Tuchel's come in, and he's coming either on a Monday or Tuesday, and Chelsea were playing Wolves on the Friday or Saturday. It was either Friday night kickoff or early Saturday, and he's literally had 2 days training. Chelsea were playing a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1 under Frank. That first game, they played 3 at the back. They drew 0-0. I watched the game. Wolves must have had one shot off target all game, dominated the ball. And I thought you've only been there 3 days. You've probably had 2 days where you've trained hard, 1 day recovery, then you've gone into the game. And you've done that in 2 days. Now, we've had Ollie for 3 years, and I haven't seen anything new that I hadn't seen under Van Gaal or Mourinho or even Moyes. And that was the key moment for me. And I was like, wow, there's different levels to this.
Absolutely. I mean, that's you've taken me nicely to my next question there. You know, we talk about tactics and how teams set up against the big teams. I mean, it's no rocket science. It's not like Solskjaer's going in. You know, you're one of the big six. I mean, the big six is I use that term very loosely, but you get my gist. One of the big teams. You get one of the smaller teams come into your stadium. It's no rocket science. They're going to have a low block, defend deep, look to play on the break, and that's it. You know, there's nothing new. How they break might be they might play direct, they might try to play through you, whatever. But it's the same. Your job will be to break down, break down a low block. Now, Man United would be fine away from home because they counter-attack it. If you were to ask me how they play, what's their style of play, it's a counter-attacking team. Now, that's not going to win you leagues and titles when you're up against, because you've got to, because you watch the Liverpool and Man City game recently. They're the only two teams that will take each other on. Now, when them two play, any other team in the league, that other team, Liverpool, Man City, will have more of the possession. The other team will play counter. It's just the way it is because they're the two best teams in the league. Now, you mentioned the Tuchel, and I can remember that game as well when Tuchel is literally been there for 2 or 3 games, and you could see that he's building that identity into the thing. He bought Azpilicueta back in, he bought Rudiger back in, he bought all these players that Lampard had binned off. So gone back 3-5-2, really tight, you know what I mean? And he's what, a year and a half in, and it's still the same tight defensive structure. But at least you know which way they're playing, and then he's looking at play forward. With Solskjaer, he's been. I actually don't know when you're dominating a team. I don't know what your patterns of play are. You ask me, Man City, Liverpool, I know what the patterns of play. Man United, I've got no idea. It's just individual brilliance. Relying on that for such a long period of time and getting it out of shit constantly. It's just not sustainable. I say it's not sustainable, but he's been doing it for a good 2 years now. He keeps doing it, and it's like I know players are there, they get paid, and you can throw the cliches out. That's what they do. But it's just not, you can't keep expecting Fernandes or Pogba to throw out worldies. You can't expect Ronaldo to get you can't expect people to throw mistakes. And I'm just thinking, what is his style of play? What is he wanting to do? I know he brought Mike Phelan in as well. You know, he brought Carrick in, and he's trying to change stuff. He's trying to keep a very much a Man United core to it. But the world has moved on so much that you can't rely on the old guy to come on and think, you know, like forward thinking, because unfortunately they've had long enough now to know that it's not. I think we all know if Solskjaer was doing, if this was Chelsea, he'd have been gone a year ago or 2 years ago, because Abramovich had been a lot more cutthroat. Now, the question I'm going to ask you is what? I mean, I don't know if I don't know if you'd be able to tell me what is Man United's style of play? You know, what do they try and do? I'm genuinely lost. I'm watching and I'm just thinking, I just hope one of the good players don't pull something out the bag. And then the second question linked to that would be as well, the balance of your team is just completely wrong. You seem to be so many attacking players. We said this, and the sort of preview show for the season, talking about Man United and Chelsea and Man City bought all these players, but the balance isn't right. You look at the team, the midfield. You know, we talk about Fred, and he gets nailed every single time. Right? Okay. Granted, I agree. He's not the greatest player, but he's all right. But then that's not his fault to be in there on his own and getting Fernandes and Pogba's recovery runs. They don't exist. Okay. Yeah. You can't expect Fred to do all that work for you. You've got, you know, I know he's gone. Fred has gone Pogba, Fernandes, and he's got your front three. You've got 5 players there who out of possession aren't going to give you a lot. And the only thing that might give you something is Cavani's playing up top, and he's probably the one that works harder than any of your other 5. That includes who works his bollocks off, who's such a good team player. And then you've got Fred getting all that shit. And it's a balance, but then it's like he's not brave enough to drop one of the stars to accommodate to, if it is Fred and McTominay, fine, it's Fred and McTominay. But then it's like he's playing Pogba, but playing him out left. I mean, he's just he's doing that real big mistake what new managers do of trying to keep the egos happy and not thinking of the team. There's a question in there somewhere.
I've got it.
Shall I remind you?
I know exactly what you're saying, and funnily enough, I was speaking to a friend today who was a Liverpool fan, so obviously he's on top of the world at the moment. But we were talking about Gary Neville's podcast, and he literally said pretty much every point you've said there. Now, formation-wise, system-wise, it's pretty much 4-2-3-1 every week. Now, Gary Neville said, look, he goes, I've had a really good career, but to have great teams who go on and win a lot of things, it's not a case of playing your best 11 players. He said you need players in that. You need players in the team that'll be the water carriers, who'll do the dog work for you, and then you've got obviously your match winners on there. And he said he's had a good career because of that. He said they even name check the likes of Fletcher and Jason, who were they were pivotal to the team.
Absolutely.
And he says it might be a case now where obviously Solskjaer knows a lot of pressure's coming on him now, and he might have to upset a few people. Now it might have to be Pogba, just because everyone crabs Fred and McTominay for obviously the lack of star quality and ability. But balance-wise, I totally understand why he plays it, because he wants to put Pogba on the pitch, but he knows if he puts him in a 2 with him and Fred will have to do too much work, he'll get overrun. That's why he plays Pogba on the left. And now he's got Sancho's hopefully coming into a bit of form. How does he fit him in there? Greenwood's playing really well. He wants to play Ronaldo, can't play Cavani. Bruno's undroppable. It's a tough situation to have.
Rashford scored 2 last night. Coming back as well.
I know, that's what I mean. You forget about Rashford. But it's a tough one. System-wise, it's always 4-2-3-1. He wants to play Pogba in there, but he'll only play in there against the lesser teams because you can have more of the ball over teams that have that quality. But me and my friend were talking about, if you're playing players like, we know that we've got to carry Ronaldo now. So if Ronaldo plays through the middle, he's probably better in the middle than out left, because then if the fullback's getting on, he's not going to chase him back. Yeah. But if you're not willing to work hard in this modern game, you look at Leeds as a prime example. You look at Leeds' first 11 or even the first 16, championship quality, apart from Rafinha, all championship quality. You could put a case for maybe Llorente at the back and Meslier in there, but all of them really should be.
As well, but yeah, I get your point.
Yeah, you should be playing in the championship. But because they work so hard, they make it hard for anybody. They're not carrying a single person. If one person starts off and is only working 80%, but the rest of the team's 100%, they'll get found out. But that just goes to show, if everybody is You don't need everyone to work hard, but you can't carry more than one player in this one game. And even to carry one player, you get found out. Now, you look at the prime example of this. When Liverpool played Barcelona, the famous night when you come back from 3-0 down, I remember watching Barcelona at the time, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing, because Barcelona played 4-4-2 against Liverpool, and that was to basically to have Suarez and Messi up top, who pretty much didn't do no running, but they needed to play 2 backs of 4 just to carry those players. Now, you never see Barcelona play 4-4-2. And it really struck me. It struck me because I thought, this is the sort of system, this is the workaround the manager has to do to get the best players on a pitch who aren't going to work hard or who can't because they're too old. But your whole team suffers because of it. Now you look at Barcelona now. Barcelona playing 3-5-2. Now you might say it's because Koeman is the defensive manager and he's not worth his salt and blah blah blah. But realistically, he's playing 3-5-2 because you can't play PK in the back four now. PK always gets found out. Jordi Alba's at the end of his career. Busquets needs more protection. And it's just, that's what happens.
Barcelona's a separate podcast.
You're right, you are right. But they're just like a great example of when you carry players like a Ronaldo or maybe a Pogba. That Man United, where we're so bad, is just out of possession. We get counted a bit, but out of possession, it's so easy. Like when we played Villarreal, it's so easy to step into midfield and bounce it here and just playing triangles. And they're not actually having to work too hard to get through us.
I don't know. I think you're quite bad in possession again, as well against the poorer teams. I think against the better teams. I think against the better teams, you're okay because they're spacing behind for you to play. You've got obviously pace up front, so it works into your counter-attacking play. You play Man City, Liverpool, you might even win. You know, because you've had decent results against Man City.
I wouldn't be surprised if they beat.
Yeah, City. I won't be surprised. The issue is, and those sorts of games will just keep Ole in the job for a bit longer. So we talk about the weaker teams when they're playing Burnley, you know, when they're really, even they were lucky against Villarreal, against young boys they got beat, you know, and they could go out. I think if they go out the Champions League, and there's a strong possibility that they've got Atlanta on the bounce to home and away.
Yeah.
I think that could be it, you know, just before the sort of win. And I think the fact that Fergie said what he said, there's the people are turning because I think they've realised now. And we've bounced this question between us before. So I mean, if Ole leaves, it sounds like he will at some point. If he leaves, he does not get a job in the Premier League again. He's not a Premier League quality manager. Now, the issue is with you guys, who goes to Man United? So you've obviously been looking for the top. Thinking Man United, we'll get the best managers. Who's currently available? All the top managers at the top clubs won't leave their top clubs to go to Man United. It's just not going to happen. So you're left with the players, the managers that are there. So you're looking at Conte, you're looking at Zidane. Those are the two I can think of top of my head. And if you're out of work, it's all right. Conte obviously plays a different style. Zidane's more, and I think Zidane hasn't got the credit he deserved. And I'll put my hand up. I didn't think he was a great manager. So I just thought he's got a great bunch of players, and they're just getting him out of shit every time, and they just play. Do you know what I mean? But Zidane, I think tactically doesn't get the credit he deserves. He's really good. It's whether they are happy or willing to go to Man United and thinking, are they a fallen giant or are they there? I mean, because let's not talk about Solskjaer spent $500 million. Do you know what I mean?
I think we were a fallen giant. I think the squad we've got now, any manager would, like you said, we're not going to get Klopp, Guardiola, Tuchel. I don't really know who else is available. But if any top manager had got offered our team from 3 years ago, from maybe 5 years ago, we had Schneiderlin and Schweinsteiger and all these mercenaries, you wouldn't touch it with a barge pole.
I forgot about Schneiderlin.
Listen, that's another podcast. The amount of players that we've had, like good players, and who've gone on to be really good players, we've lost Lukaku. You could name an 11. It's crazy. Lukaku, Zaha, players who were sort of just Di Maria, Sanchez, players who could have been a word great, and for whatever reason, it didn't work. But I think with the squad, I think most managers would take it. The issue is, like you said, availability. Now, I'm of the former opinion, what you mentioned there, Zidane. I didn't watch La Liga much, but I've watched all the Champions League games pretty much. And I did feel like he had a great squad. And I felt like, not like he got found out, but when the likes of Ronaldo left and, you know, the better players started to move on, I felt if he was a great manager or a really good manager, he'd be able to manage that, but they did seem to fall off a bit of a hill. And then obviously he left probably for that reason, and then he come back, and then obviously he's left again. I just don't know, and I won't take Conte as well, because I feel like the credit we give Solskjaer about is sort of rebuilt the club personnel wise, and like he's got players that want to play for Man United. I think Conte is very brutal. He'll just go, he say like, give me 150 million. I want to play this player, and it maybe might stunt some progress because he doesn't seem to stay at places a lot, does he? Now Chelsea, obviously.
Very much, you know what you're going to get with Conte, though. You look at every manager. You look at Klopp, Guardiola, Tuchel, Conte. You know the style of play they're going to play. There's no secrets. Conte's going to come in and play 3-5-2, be really solid, but look good on the break. And he loves his two up front as well. It's a dying breed that even Chelsea don't really play three. They play sort of 3-4-2-1. They got a striker. They got 2 10s. Slightly different. But what he does and what they did with Inter as well, he had Lukaku and Martinez, so we had two strikers, and they won the league. They beat Juve. Juve won it for whatever long. Yeah. So he's obviously left because there was a disagreement in wages and the transfer fees. Exactly, went to Spurs. I mean, you would have gone if Spurs, Daniel Levy's just a dickhead, and that's another podcast as well. But he just basically went, I want this much, and Daniel Levy was like, no, you're not going to get. There's no transfer fees. There's no transfer budget for you. No, sorry, and then see you later. So he would have. I think he goes and he'd probably get you closer to the league or the Champions League than any other manager. But there'll be a period of time where the fans aren't delighted with the football because he can be quite slow Now, once you're fully functioning and the players know how he wants them to play, they're a really good side. But during that interim period of getting to that point, it's quite frustrating to watch. Do you know what I mean? But like football fans, so people that sort of like students in the game understand it. They'll appreciate it. But 95% of the people in the game are just fans. They don't really, they just watch it, and if it's not pretty, they're not great, and they don't want to, get involved with it too much.
I think with Conte. Yeah, sorry, I was just going to say, I think with Conte, I think even with the squad we've got, I think there'd be every possibility of him going on and winning a title, just going off his track record. But I just think the long-term benefit is not greater than the short term, because I think we'd lose good players because they'd fall out, and maybe because it's so brutal, like you said, and it can be volatile. I just think the aftermath would probably undo a lot of work that Solskjaer's done, which it doesn't really make sense, because obviously Solskjaer can't get us to silverware, and Conte probably could. I think I'd be looking a bit left field now. Pochettino is definitely a shout, because you've got to think he's not going down well at PSG. Now, I was speaking to a friend today, and I was wondering do you guys reckon he stopped falling at PSG?
Yes.
Because obviously they lost out on the league.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely think Pochettino's fallen, but I just want to go back to your point. I still think any manager would go to Manchester United, other than the two that we mentioned, Klopp, Guardiola. At the end of the day, they're still Man United, regardless of what we think as Liverpool fans. They're still Man United. They're still arguably the biggest club in the world. And I think Conte is exactly what they need, like the discipline that they get, but it's just what comes with it. You've got all the sideshow that.
Can you imagine? I can imagine Conte going in and instantly there's a clash between Ronaldo. I can see that happening straight away. Can you imagine that? Man United legend Ronaldo, the fans wouldn't. They'd be like, no way, Conte out before. You say no one's bigger than the club. Ronaldo's bigger than the club. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's what they need. It's exactly what they need.
Yeah.
But I do think Pochettino would be a good fit for you. But I just want to ask you something. Like Ty mentioned this on, I think it might have been on our last podcast, and it's not a popular name, and it's not glamorous or anything like that. Would you settle for someone like an Eddie Howe? Or is that you think that's too far? Do you think that's too...
No, I had this conversation with a friend on the phone on Sunday. He's of the same ilk as me. He's been at Ollie out for probably about 2-3 years.
Yeah.
and he's saying, like, obviously you can talk about these big names. Eddie Howe, I wouldn't do it personally. I think the thing is as well, like what you don't take into consideration, like you mentioned there, Man United arguably the biggest team in the world. If you look at managers that come into Man United, if you look at like a before and after of the face, like the amount of stress and pressure, like I think David Moyes lost his eyebrows. Solskjaer's aged about probably more than 5 years, about 10 years. And I think for managers like that, especially young managers, it can break you. Do you know what I mean? So I think probably I wouldn't personally just have Eddie Howe. I tell you one manager I do like though, Graham Potter. Big fan of Graham Potter. Now it's just like as a purist, you look at. He doesn't have a great sum of parts there, but he's a great coach and he's worth his salt and they play good stuff and they give big teams a run for the money. And it just goes to show what a good manager who knows what he's doing can get with smaller parts. Now, you imagine, it's not as easy to say, right, then you come into Man United and then all of a sudden Man United play great. That might be the case, but then obviously the pressure that comes with the job, that could have a negative impact on somebody who's obviously as inexperienced as Graham Potter on that big stage. But I think they're realistically your options. Like if you look at Pochettino, he's a real possibility. And then I think you might have to look at one of these lower managers like Graham Potter. I think Graham Potter's doing great work. I think the thing for Eddie Howe now is, I think he's sort of, because he's been out of the game now for a couple of years, he's sort of dropped down that pecking order, because there were a point where they were talking about him. He was linked with Arsenal fairly heavily, I think, and maybe Spurs at one point. And I think that was either before. I think that might have been before he had the relegation on his TV.
I think it's an interesting point you're making, and we mentioned it before as well. Like these managers you mentioned, your Potters and Eddie Howe's, the top clubs in the world, and that's from Man United. I mean, you want to say Man United are a top club. I mean, just in terms of the business and the whole infrastructure, they're big. But in terms of actually what they're doing on the pitch at the moment, they're not. And that's where you guys want to get to. To manage a big club, you need a select group of top managers. There's obviously 3 or 4, and I think Pochettino's probably, he's got Pochettino, Conte, Allegri's gone to Juve. So Pochettino, Conte, Zidane, I'd say they're the sort of managers you've got to be shopping at. Because if you're not going there, you might as well just stick with Solskjaer. You save yourself some compensation. And I think it comes to a point now where the decisions are going to have to be made, but it's like, are they happy for those decisions to be made, or they're happy with Solskjaer finishing in top 4 Champions League football, continue, considering they were out for so long. I'm just going to, I know we've been going on for a bit, I'm just going to finish off with a couple of questions for you. Okay, so say you had £200 million, and I'll ask Chris the same question as well. You need to improve 2 positions, and what would your team be? So January transfer window comes around, you can get any 2 players, realistically 2 players that you can bring in, throw into Man United and your formation, and how you'd have it if you took over from Solskjaer and Field sacked you.
All right, I was going to say you can't replace Solskjaer.
Yeah. So Lewis is the new Man United manager. You got £200 million. You need 2 players, and your formation. What are you doing?
So I take N'Golo Kante, assuming he's fit. I just drop him from CDM, and I'd carry on playing 4-2-3-1, and I'd play Pogba with him. And I think there'll be times where Pogba gets overrun, but I think N'Golo Kante, it sounds cliche, but does the work of 2 men. You see it for France a lot. So I take Kante in there. Bruno plays at 10. I pick 2 of Greenwood, Rashford, Sancho out wide. Stick with Searam up top, and then right back's my replacement. And I'm having Trent.
I said realistic.
Realistic, all right. Sorry. Who else? The thing is, there's definitely better right backs than Trippier out there. But when we was looking at Trippier in the summer, I thought it was the perfect foil. Do you know what I mean? In the big games, you can play Wan-Bissaka because he can deal with one-on-one, and we're going to be fairly deep playing on counter. But when we're playing the smaller teams, somebody of Trippier's quality he's a good player, don't get me wrong, really good player, he's won the league now, but his quality out wide. I'm a bit of a purist, and I cringe watching Wan-Bissaka on the ball.
Yes.
It breaks my heart to watch him going. When we go out wide, it's like I always say, it looks like he's just learned to play football maybe 3 years ago. That's what it looks like to me. Like his first touch is just out of his feet. He gets the ball caught under, and he's got the pace, and he's fairly sharp, so he gets out of trouble a lot. But it breaks down, and you can see the when we're moving from left to right, there's always a bit of a hesitancy to go out there because we know it's either going to come back or it's not going to be what we want. That's why pretty much for the most time he just tucks in and Luke Shaw. He gives us that outlet out there. But yeah, definitely I'd upgrade.
So Trippier and N'Golo for you. Chris, for you?
I'm selling Pogba. He's gone. So I've got 300 million now. And I'm going to go with Hakimi at right back or like a Spinazzola or someone like that. And then I'm going to bring Verratti in midfield alongside Kante. And then I'm going to just go with like a Chiesa type player. I'm going to have him up top there, my buys. What about you?
I mean, the question when I asked it, I wasn't really bothered about the rest of the team. Obviously, we're talking about the team being balanced, and I think you've both nailed it. The defensive midfield position, out of possessions, the issue, and we've spoke about it before. Everyone talked about Wan-Bissaka as being a great right. It's not a great right back. It's a great right back for a lower table Premier League team when they're out of possession and he's got to defend 1v1. The game has changed now. Your biggest threats, you look at the top teams in the world, the biggest threats are the fullbacks. You look at Liverpool, Robertson and Trent have just got millions of assists. You look at Cancelo and Walker, and he's even moved Zinchenko or Cancelo, whatever it is, the fullbacks are there. The ball goes to Wan-Bissaka, gets in the final third. It's just shit, you know what I mean? We can talk about, the runs that the forwards make, and there's no quality going on there. He gets the ball and he dribbles. Sometimes his head goes, it's like he's just in tunnel vision. He just goes in a straight line and he runs it out of play. If he gets the ball, if you watch opposition teams, they'll let him have the ball. They'll press every other player. They'll let him have the ball, and they'll know he'll give you it back. So if you're going to press squeeze from one side, you're letting him have it. Luke Shaw can get the ball. He's good with the ball. He can drive with it. He can, play combinations to work down the line. Wan-Bissaka's just poor. It's the reason why he doesn't get a sniff in the England squad. So we're talking about, I think that's a big issue as well. We talk about how you're going to break down those bottom end Premier League teams. Having good fullbacks makes a difference. Even now, this is completely extreme, but Jadon Sancho's all that. So if you play him at right back against one of them, when you've got, at least that gives you a bit more attacking threat and impetus. Now, N'Golo Kante, would Chelsea sell him to a rival? I don't know, but that's where my head would be at as well, to get a real top quality defensive midfielder.
I didn't want to say your favourite player, Ty.
Was that Fabinho?
Declan Rice.
See, the Declan Rice thing, and I'll go and I'll stand by this. And we spoke about in the previous podcast. We spoke about Salah, like how he's performed against the top teams all the time is just unbelievable. Declan Rice, I've still not seen him play against a proper performance against a top team. And I went to the European Championship final and he got hooked after 60 minutes. He was just getting played around. I mean, the first 20, 25 minutes, he was brilliant. Do you know what I mean? He was running. And then Verratti and Jorginho got on the ball and they just absolutely took the piss, And that's, unfortunately, when you're playing top elite level teams, that's where the game's won. It's all about possession. It's about, how you maneuver and, those little moments of when to step in as a midfielder, when to drop off, and those combinations you play with your tens, all that sort of stuff. But it's magnified when you play in those huge games and you get found out. Yeah. I just don't think I think he's a good West Ham player, but is he what Man United want? And I don't know. You're thinking, you've just said it. Would you go Kante or Declan Rice? And that's your answer, really. Do you know what I mean? I still think he's a long way short of that. We're talking, there's about five. I mean, I can think off the top of my head. I know Kante's better, Fabinho's better. I'll say Yves Bissouma's better. These are just names at the top of my head in the Premier League. There's probably more as well. You can say Jorginho as well. It was just, so it's different types of play. I'd even say, we mentioned Calvin Phillips in the Euros podcast. I think he's a better player than him as well. But again, that's just opinions. But I think it's good to see that
he was the one. Sorry, Ty. You just reminded me that Yves Bissouma. He was the one I wanted. Now everybody thinks at Man United. Obviously, we need the ball winner.
Yeah.
And you don't always need a ball winner, because the thing is with Man United, we're so poor in possession. We're always having to chase it back. But Yves Bissouma is so good on the ball. It just keeps you ticking. Do you know what I mean? That's what we need. We need someone from deep. Like, I love Verratti, like Chris mentioned there. I've been a fan of Verratti since he was about 17 and we were coming through the Italy unders. I remember when they played England, him and Insigne just absolutely tore us apart. And I've watched him since then, and he can do that job. Do you know what I mean? But Yves Bissouma is just. I mean, there's some news that's come out this morning about him. Have you seen that?
Yeah. No. Yeah, I don't think you want him anymore.
What,
Nah, we don't want it now. But
is it another podcast? I've not heard it. Is it another podcast?
He's let's just say he's innocent until proven guilty. But he was arrested. I think last.
Was he
night,
at the same?
night.
Was he at the same party as Benjamin Mendy? So I have an idea.
Yeah, it might have been. I think he's going to be
allegedly.
He's going to be joining.
Right, okay.
Apparently, he's going to be
press,
joining.
This is not what we have said. Yeah.
Right.
Right, Louis. It's just been absolutely brilliant to have you on. It really has. It's good to have a bunch. I mean, I'm glad. Pretty much everything you've said, we've agreed with. So I think that does show that we are quite impartial when we do talk about Man United stuff. As always, we do have a question of the day. And shock horror, is it Ole in or is it Ole out? So as always, let us know, comments down below. But yeah, until next time, guys, it's bye from me.
See you later, guys.
Cheers, guys.